And we're up to chapter 28, verse 4. And it says, these are the garments. These are the garments that you shall make. Choshen ve'ephod u'me'il. The breastplate, the ephod, which we'll translate as the apron for reasons we have, because we're following Rashi. The me'il, the robe, the ketona tashbetz. The ketona tashbetz is usually called a tunic. Mitznefet v'avneit. Mitznefet is a turban, and an avneit is a belt. You shall make a holy garment for Aaron your brother, and for his sons, to be a Kohen to serve me. So this Rashi is one of the most beloved Rashis in all of the Torah, because Rashi says, by the way, if you're talking to art students, Rabbi Yosef, this is exactly the Rashi you should talk about, because somebody had to design these garments. And Rashi says, Choshen tachshit kineged alev. This is an ornament worn opposite the heart. Hello, Rameyer. Good to see you. An ornament worn opposite the heart. And now is the Rashi that's beloved. Ve'ephod, an apron. Rashi says, Lo shamati v'lo matzati bebraita pirush tavnito. He said, I never found an explicit explanation in the Braita of the ephod. Never. So how does he know what it looks like? Only through his complete command of all the sources, and also by looking at the commentary by looking at the noblewomen around him in French culture. That's what Rashi says. I never found anything. V'libi omerli shu chagor lo me'achorav. But my heart tells me that it was a belt around his back. Rachbo kerochav gov esh. Its width like the width of a man's back. Rashi says, my heart tells me this. Kamin sinar shekorin porchent pulas, like an apron which is called a porchent in French. Shechogrot hasarot kesherochvot hasusim, which the noblewomen gird themselves when they ride their horses. So Rashi is telling us that this looks like the apron that the women, the noble French women of his time in the 11th century in Champagne, used to wear. That was its work. It was an apron on the front and open on the back. As it states, David chagor ephod ba. David was girded with a linen ephod. So how are you going to know this unless you're an art student, Rabbi Yosef? You can't say it's just a belt. Because it states he placed upon it the ephod. So clearly, it's more than just a belt. And it's also impossible to say you can't say. And afterwards it says and then he girded him with the belt of the ephod. With the belt of the ephod. This teaches us that the belt, that the cheshev is the belt, and the ephod is the name of the tachshit, of the ornament by itself. It's impossible to say you can't say it's called the ephod because of the two shoulder straps. It says the two straps of the ephod. This teaches us that the ephod is a noun. And the straps are a noun. Therefore, Rashi says, it's called an ephod because of the apron below. Because he beautifies and adorns the Kohen Gadol with it. As it states, and he beautified him with it. Hugh, come please join us. And also you can bring, Hugh, if you go into the kitchen, my friend, there's a thing of cookies. Do you mind bringing those in? Let everybody eat some cookies. The ephod Okay. So that is the and as it states, Vayefod Lobo, he beautified with him. Nacheshev is the belt above the apron, and the straps are attached to it. And my heart also tells me, I have further proof that the ephod is a type of garment. I mean, it's an apron, because it states in the Aramaic, the Tirgem Yonatan, V'David Chagur ephod ba, that David was wearing this linen ephod, Bardut Devutz. The Aramaic translation of it is Bardut Devutz, which means a linen Kardut Devutz, a linen kardut. And what's a kardut? Mi'ilin kardutin b'maasei Tamar achot Avshalom. And he translates this by Tamar and Avshalom. Kardutin is a robe. Kikein tobashna b'not hamelech hab'tulot mi'ilin. That's what they would wear. So Rashi tells us that this is considered to be a garment. But Rashi is telling us that nowhere in the Torah, nowhere in the Talmud is it explicitly described what this ephod is. Rashi is only able to determine it because he has a complete mastery of all the sources, and he also has seen the French noblewomen of his time, what they were wearing. And so that's a very powerful thing to me, that Rashi, first of all, is using what he sees around him, and also he says, Libi Omerli, my heart tells me that this is what it is. This is, to me, the poetry of Rashi, that he's able to determine what something is based upon his own intuition. Okay.
Rabbi, there's another mention of ephod with David, where he says to Eviatar, Hagisha li ephod.
Right.
And so that would be somebody else's.
Well, yeah, the problem with Rashi is that elsewhere in the Bible, especially in the book of Shmuel, ephod seems to be like an oracle. So there you'd have to say that the ephod is referring to the ornament on the ephod.
Okay.
Because it also says in the book of Judges that they started to worship the ephod.
Right.
So that's why Rashi is arguing so vociferously that it's a garment. But that's the problem. That's the problem. Okay, so now the next Rashi states that the Kohen Gadol has to wear, by the way, this is the garments of the high priest. The regular Kohen only wears 4 garments, but the high priest wears 8 garments. So we've seen now 2 of them, an ornament, and then which is worn on the chest, and an ephod, an ornament on the chest, and an ephod. And now the third garment is the me'il. The me'il is the me'il is the robe. What's the me'il? Hukamin chaluk. It's a type of robe. V'china kutonet, and also is the kutonet. What's the difference between the me'il and the kutonet? Shakutonet samuch ubsaro. The kutonet is next to the flesh. Umeil karoe charuka al yom. The me'il is the upper outer robe above the kutonet. Tashbeitz. The kutonet tashbeitz is a checkered robe. Asiyot mishpatzot lanoi. It's made with settings for decoration. Now mishpatzot, and these settings come in gumot. These are like indentations. Hasuyot kitachshitei zahav, that are made like in golden ornaments that they used to put the stones and the pearls in, as it states musabot mishpatzot zahav. Okay, so now what's the next thing is a mitznefet, that the Kohen Gadol wore a special turban called a mitznefet. And Rashi here says, here too, this is not described in the Talmud either. Rashi says, Kimin kipat kova, a dome-like hat, which is called shekorin kupa bolaz. In French, it's called a cap, kopa. I guess a kippah maybe comes from that word, the kippah. Where else do you say the kippah in Hebrew, modern Hebrew? But maybe it is, oh wait, why am I, what? Maybe the kippah comes from the word cap. You ever think about that? Oh, here they have it in the footnote here. The word is related to the Hebrew kippah and the Arabic kafia. The Arabic kafia.
Makes sense.
Okay, so that's what he says. They would wear this turban, the mitznefet. Yeah, mitznefet
There's no discussion of this in the Talmud?
of the mitznefet. No, they never describe what the mitznefet looks like. I don't believe so. I'm trying to remember this, but I don't remember it in the Talmud. Elsewhere, the Torah calls them migbaot. Here they're called mitznefet, but the regular Kohanim, they're called migbaot. Mitargamina and kovein, and there they're translated as a hat. So the Talmud never describes this garment. The only garment that the Talmud describes the tzitz, the golden forehead plate, and there they have a dispute as to what it looked like, and they say we found it in Rome. And I believe, I'm just working from memory, that they also say we saw the me'il in the treasury in Rome, but they never describe the other garments. They describe the hem of the robe, but they don't describe the other garments, what they look like.
What Rabbi Eliezer found was the Zinyoma, right?
Well, no, it's in a few places.
So he found the parochet, and the blood was actually external because of the sword. And he found the menorah, right?
They also found the tzitz. You can look it up. They found the tzitz.
The tzitz, the menorah, and the parochet.
In Shas, but I thought also they saw the me'il. I thought the me'il was also described. You could look that up too.
Let me check that, yeah.
Yeah, check that also. So then, okay. Va'avneit, and the belt, he chagura al ketonet. This is the belt that's over the ketonet. Va'efer chagura al me'il, while the belt, the ephod is the belt over the me'il. As we found, kamosha matzinu b'seder v'shatan. That's how they put it on. They put on the me'il, then they put on you put on the kutonet, so basically he puts on the kutonet on his flesh. Then he puts the belt around the kutonet, then he puts on the me'il, and then he puts the ephod on the me'il. So again, those are four garments right there. The kutonet, which is the tunic. Then he puts the belt around it, that's two garments. Then he puts on the me'il, that's a third garment. Then he puts on the ephod on the me'il, that's a fourth garment. And then we've already seen that there's the choshen, which is the breastplate, that's a fifth garment. Then also he puts on the hat, which is a sixth garment, that's the mitznefet. Then he has the tzitz, which is the forehead plate, that's the seventh garment. And what's his eighth garment? Well, he has to wear some breeches. Those are called the mechnasayim. That's his eighth garment. Okay, the verse states. Okay.
And how many, the regular Kohen wears how many garments?
Regular Kohen wears four garments. He just wears a hat, a belt, a robe, and breeches. And then it states, Big Day Kodesh Haim, they are the holy garments. Rashi says, you have to make the garments from donations, from a donation. You can't buy your own garments. They have to come from the donations.
No. It shouldn't be from the general funds.
That's also true.
Because general funds, because this has to be specifically sequestered and designated, so it shouldn't be confused with that, because there's a hekdesh involved here.
Exactly right. These are consecrated garments. It's not owned by any one person. They're the sacred garments. Very nice point, Mayor. And then the verse tells us, verse 5, Vehem yakuat hazahav, so that they give it to the Kohanim, these garments, and they shall take the gold, and the blue, the purple, and the crimson and the linen. So what does this mean? Rashi says, Otam chachmei lev sheyasu habegodim, those of wise heart will make the garments, otherwise known as artists. Artists who have to make the garments. They shall receive the gold and the turquoise from the donors to make the garments. So Aaron and his sons are not making it, but the artists are making it. Okay, verse 6. They shall make the ephod. Now he's going to go into a lot of detail here.
I always notice that they speak of the artists having chachmei lev. They don't talk about their skill as an artist, that they have to have the chachmei lev.
Wisdom of the heart. The heart in the rabbinic Hebrew was believed to be the source of wisdom. Today, people say the brain, but in the rabbinic Hebrew, they assume that the wisdom came from the heart or the kidneys. Those were the organs associated with intelligence. That's
But
like,
it also speaks to the fact that they had intuition,
Right.
intelligence, not just the analytical intelligence.
well, today we associate the heart with like emotion. We say a person, I mean, there's no real evidence that the heart is the emotional aspect of our entity, of our person. Oh, this guy's got a good heart, means he's very sensitive. Why do we associate? They used to associate it with intelligence. Probably the emotional intelligence comes from the brain also. Yeah. What? Yeah, but today we associate it with the heart. Like he's got a good heart.
But it's a metaphor.
Yeah, it's a metaphor. Imagine if you would say, oh, look who's here. So you bang your head. Did you bang your head? I understand that. Where is it? What? Can you show him Meyer? Does he know where it is? Yeah. Thank you, Meyer. What page are we on? We're in what page are we on there?
455.
455. Okay, you got it? Okay. So now you have a seat, Eliezer. So now we're up to the verse. It says, they should make this ephod out of gold. Oh yeah, we read this verse. And now the verse states as follows. In Bati Lefaresh, Rashi said something very powerful. In Bati Lefaresh Maaseh ephod v'choshen al seder mikrot. If I was going to explain the way they made the ephod and the choshen according to the verses, Hari Pirushan Prakim, their explanation would be fragmented. And the reader would make a lot of mistakes in combining them. Therefore, I'm writing it exactly as it appears. First, I'm writing their whole explanation, so the reader can run through it quickly. And then I'll explain it. Rashi says, I'm going to tell you what it looks like, and then afterwards I'll try and point it out by each of the verses. And basically Rashi is kind of going to be a little repetitive here, like what he said at the beginning, but he's going to describe it as like an instruction manual. But who reads the instructions?
When all else fails.
When all else fails, you read the instructions. This is why these Rashis are like a crucible. The ephod is like the apron that the women would wear when they would ride the horses. It was belted from the back, opposite his heart. Oh, so now we're seeing something that the belt is in the upper part of the back because it's opposite the heart, not by the waist. Underneath his elbows. It's as wide as a person's back. V'yoser and more. Go down all the way to his heels. The belt was connected at the top, so we see it would tie around his neck in the back. Al penei rochbo, the width. Maise oreg, it was a weaver's work. Meaning to say, it wasn't woven separately and then sewn on, it was all woven together. Extended to either side. To encompass and to tie the Kohen Gadol. And the straps were connected with the belt. Achas liyamin, the achas small, one to the right and one to the left. Me'achorei Kohen, at the Kohen's back. L'shnei kitzot rachbo shel sinar, at the two ends of the width of the apron. Ukeshazokfan, and when he would stand them straight, omdo slo al shtei ktofav, they would stand on his two shoulders. Ve'ein kamin shtei ritzuot, they're like two bands. Asuyot min ha'ephod, made of the material of the ephod. Long enough to stand him straight next to his neck on either side. And so the straps would then come down a little bit in front of his shoulder, one on the right, one on the left shoulder. And then there'll be places to put stones right here on the straps. I don't know if you have a picture there. And the two golden cables, and they would connect the breastplate with these golden cables to chuvot b'shtei tabaot shebachoshen, and they'd be inserted into the two rings, b'shnei kitzot rachbo alyon, and the two ends of its width at the upper side, achas liyamin v'achas small, one to the right, one to the left. U'shnei rashei hashashar t'kuin, and the two ends of the right chain will be inserted into the setting at the right. And then the two ends of the chain on the left will be put into the strap in the left shoulder. So the breastplate will be hanging on the straps connected to the belt, connected to the ephod. And it would also be below, connected to the ephod. That's what he's going to say. There would be two more rings connected. There'll be two more rings. Okay, so this Rashi is so technical, but we're going to read it. And they would be drawn down below at its lower end, which is attached to the cheshev. The rings of the choshen correspond to the rings of the ephod, lying on each other. And they would fasten them with a string of turquoise wool, insert into the rings of the ephod and the choshen. So that the lower edge of the choshen should be attached to the cheshev of the ephod. And that would keep it from dangling. Anyway, this is, you ever hear the expression, a picture is worth 1,000 words? You just look at the picture and you see exactly what Rashi said. Rashi sometimes uses pictures, but for some reason here he doesn't. And people have made like recreations of the.
So the picture in Art Scrolls and Rashi, it's Art Scroll.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, they say that it's not Rashi.
No, man.
They say copyright 1994, reproduction prohibited. Patented. What about when the Kohen Gadol comes around and he wants to make his ephod? Are they going to say sorry, pay the royalty? Oh yeah. That's a whole sermon right there. Okay. The next Rashi says it was made of gold and blue thread, and gold thread, blue thread, purple thread, crimson thread, and twisted linen. So gold thread, what is that called? What's that called? When you make the thread from the gold, you make the gold really thin and you turn it into a thread. Chameshet, yeah, you can make a gold yarn. Chameshet minin halalo shezurim l'kol chut v'chut. They had five of these different substances, which is basically woven into each thread. This is how they would make the gold. They would beat down the gold into different strands, like very thin strands. They would cut strands from them. Did you ever make dresses like this? No, never. What? No, but sometimes you see this. They sometimes use this today. They make you see the gold headbands that are made from real gold. They're just beaten down and made very thin. Yeah.
Thread.
What?
Um,
Yeah, they make gold thread. So it's not, it's done, of course. And so they would make a thread of gold, and they would take a thread of gold with 6 threads of turquoise wool.
This is usually gold also, all these decors, they make a very thin plate and then it's real
there's gold
pressed
foil.
onto it, what?
There's a gold foil that you use
Gold
for it,
foil,
and
yeah.
they press it down.
Right. The gold foil made out of gold.
Yeah.
Used in everything. Gold is very, very.
I mean, I went to the
Versatile.
dentist and I said, can you give me a nice gold tooth? And they didn't want to do it. So then they would take this thread of gold and they would combine it with 6 threads of the argaman. What they would do with 6 threads of the tcheles, 6 threads of the argaman. So they would basically take a thread of gold and then they would combine it with 6 threads of each of the other items. So it would be a total of 25 threads. But there was a thread of gold with each one of these 6 threads. So therefore, there'd be a total of 28 threads. So then he would twist them all together. So each thread was made up of 28 strands. 28 strands for each thread. And it's derived from the following verse. They beat the plates of gold and cut threads. We see that a thread of gold was intertwined with each variety of the yarn. Okay, we have to stop here and pray at this.